My favorite phone that I've never used. Yeah, that's such a weird thing to say. Guys, I've used a lot of phones, believe me, I've been doing this for almost 10 years. But Sony's PlayStation Phone, the Xperia Play, this predated C4E tech by a little bit. So I never got around to getting my hands on it. Now, if you're one of the 30 people who watch this channel, you'd know about my recent obsession with everything retro gaming. And you 30 have usually asked me what my dream phone is. Now that I've gotten my hands on a refurbished Xperia Play, playing around with it, it got me thinking. It finally got me to realize what my dream phone's gotta be. I have a bunch of cool ideas here.
I've got an idea!
Hear me out and tell me what you think. Beat it up disclaimer, I'm keeping this viable and realistic, as in no Snapdragon AAA at $100 kind of crap. Now, Sony's mobile business has been floundering for a while now, and they've been dealing with it by doubling down on optics, which is not a bad idea given the success of their mirrorless cameras and the fact that their smartphone camera sensors, they are good and popular enough to actually be a marketing point during other brands' launches. Now, every brand that's launching a phone, most of them at least, when they have a Sony sensor, they come out and say, we have a Sony sensor. Now, if my time with the Xperia 5 Mark II was anything to go by, Sony seemed to be doing a fine job with optics. Now, recently, I've cut down on covering phones, right? But the Xperia 1 Mark III and the 5 Mark III, they are still most definitely on my radar. Why? Because Sony's been doing a beautiful job of leveraging that alpha camera technology and pairing it with some beautiful hardware. Now, as popular as Sony's alpha cameras are today, they do have one brand that's even bigger, PlayStation. And unlike cameras where Sony is one of 5 or 6 top brands today, with gaming, Sony is one of 3. The one of 3. So here's where a PlayStation phone comes in. Now this is the Xperia Play, the original PlayStation phone. It's got direction buttons, 2 analog, okay, not analog sticks, but you get what I'm saying. Oh, I've been holding up upside down. Awesome. If you like that, go ahead, give this video a thumbs up. So anyways, you get what I'm saying, right? It's got menu, select, start buttons. Apart from that, the face button, circle, X, square, triangle. And then we also have the left and right bumpers. In 2021, to be able to do something like this with a smaller form factor and add in L2, R2 kind of like this, and maybe even on-screen keys for L3, R3, or just tap the left side of the screen for L3, right side of the screen for R3, that should work. Because most of the games, the kind of concept I'm going for, it's not going to use L3 and R3 a lot. Now pair all this hardware with a 720p 60 FPS screen. Yes, I said it, 720p. No, I'm not trying to pleasantly surprise you. I'm not going to fault you for thinking this is stupid, but bear with me, I'll clear it up in a moment. Now, apart from these, I will also go for a successor to the PlayStation Pocket app. Now, in case you didn't know, the PlayStation Pocket app, that was Sony's own store to buy PS1 games on the Xperia Play. So a refreshed PlayStation Pocket app, for 2021 with support for not just PS1, but PS2, PSP, and maybe, just maybe, even the PS Vita. That would be amazing. Technically, it should be doable. The PS1 came out in 1994. In 2011, Sony had no issues emulating that. The PS2 launched in 2000, the PSP in 2002, if I can recall correctly. So emulating them on 2021 hardware should not be an issue. The PS Vita, okay, maybe I'm being a little unrealistic, a little greedy with that one. But returning back to the dream hardware, it is a dream after all, right? So the PS2, it doesn't run great on sub-flagship chips, so we gotta go Snapdragon 888, and I want to get the most out of it, which is why I'm pairing it with a 720p 60 FPS screen. Guys, if you look at the PS Vita, it's got a 544p display, and as of now, the games still look tremendous. They are still very, very beautiful. As you can see, this is the original PS Vita with the OLED display, and it's just fabulous. Pleasantly surprising. Because, when we are talking about consoles like the PS1, PS2, PSP, or even the Vita, higher than 60 FPS ain't gonna really do much. And these games don't even run at a native 720p. So we're gonna be upscaling. And 720p, I feel that would help keep the battery small, the price low, and the performance high. Now, this is not Samsung cutting resolution just for the heck of it. We are doing this because it fits. Now with the Snapdragon S2 chip, the Xperia Play was able to emulate PS1 pretty flawlessly. Why? Because it is using an official first-party Sony emulator to get the job done. Now in 2021, AAA pushing only 720p at 60 FPS, Sony should be able to achieve flawless PS2 emulation, because even with third-party emulators, it is possible today. It runs decently well. A native emulator, they should be able to get it flawless. And the Vita, yes, I'm a greedy f***, I know. Now think about this. These crazy devices, $700 US, heavy as f*** with weird displays, there is a market for these. Not a huge market, but there is one nonetheless. So a phone like this at around the $400 mark, yes, you heard me right, $400, at this price point, it should have an audience. The price can be met if Sony looks at it as an ecosystem. Fuck the cameras, put in one IMX686 or even a 586 sensor to the back, a basic 8 megapixel selfie shooter for Zoom calls, and wait for it, ship these phones with a dock. Now, this, if you've seen my other video, I don't know which one's going live first, so let me repeat myself. The dock was not a Nintendo idea. It was a Sony idea. They actually sold one for the PSP Go. They just executed it so poorly that most of us don't even remember it. And I've said this multiple times in the past, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they all sell dirt cheap hardware for consoles. Why? I mean, why do they actually take a huge hit with the hardware? Because at the start of a generation, it's okay taking a hit. They're actually subsidizing the costs, because it's basically a price of entry for a consumer into an ecosystem. That's how they see it. Unlike with PCs, every time you buy a game on the Nintendo store, the PlayStation store, the Microsoft store, these brands actually get a cut of every sale you make, and they make that throughout the life cycle of a console. So yeah, a Snapdragon 888 at $400 isn't gonna be profitable for Sony. They're probably gonna lose money on it, at least initially, but at $100 over the Switch, as a gateway to an ecosystem, it might just be what the doctor ordered. Now, unlike consoles, a phone cannot be sold with the same specs for 6-7 years, right? You can do that with a console, yes. Now the Switch is almost 4 years old already. They can push it for another 3 years. It's totally fine. Maybe do a minimal refresh in hardware. But a phone can most definitely be sold for 4. Think about it. The flagship chip from 2018, what is it? The Snapdragon 845. As of today at $400, I'm not gonna call it great value, but if it were running Android 11, flawless Android 11, and it came with the entirety of Sony's retro library, I'd still be interested in getting it. And of course, by year 3, year 4, they could drop the price by $50 or $100 as is standard with consoles. Now the key to this is gonna be updates. People don't mind older hardware as long as it's gonna be updated fine. Case in point, the Nvidia Shield TV. It started off with Android TV version 4 or 5, and it's had support for 6 years now. Now, Nvidia has managed to do it mostly because they have their own chip, and Qualcomm, if you were using a Qualcomm chip, even if you did want to support it, you can't, because Qualcomm just doesn't support their chips past a few years. But then this is Sony that we are talking about, and if this becomes this concept phone becomes like a hybrid, it becomes an ecosystem by its own, then Sony should be able to have enough pull to actually push Qualcomm to support the phone for, or support the chip for 4 years. They might even talk them into getting them a higher band exclusive chip, the Snapdragon 888.8 or whatever it is. Now, one of the biggest issues with Android, well, let me come out and say it, piracy. That's one of the reasons why a lot of great developers develop only for iOS and not for Android. Now, this is something Sony will have to contend with. After all, what's going to stop someone from buying the phone at cost, you know, letting Sony subsidize it and then putting Damien PS2, PPSS, PP and EPSXC on it to get all these games for free? In which case, Sony will just be losing money on hardware and not really making anything on software. Not a good business idea. Now, one of the biggest reasons for the failure of the PSP was the fact that a few years in, while they did manage to match Nintendo on the units sold, but on an average, each buyer was only buying 3 to 4 games. So that meant they were not really seeing the profits, despite the hardware sales being good. But that was 2011, this is 2021, and the difference is COVID. Too soon? Okay. In 2021, brands have another method of seeing profit. I call this the Netflix formula. Think about this for a minute. A few years back, when say the original Xperia Play came out, how many of us were pirating content? I mean, let's be honest, sharing is caring, Team Jack Sparrow, a lot of us were doing that. But now, with the rise of Netflix and Prime, I don't say we don't pirate stuff. I'm saying we still are paying for at least some services, right? Netflix, Prime, Jio, Hotstar, hell, even Sony Live. At least some of these services we do pay for. So if Sony were to offer a subscription service, or maybe even 2 tiers of it, tier 1, you get PS1 and PSP, tier 2, you get PS2 and PS Vita, all this, you get to access these content on a monthly subscription, that should entice people into paying for it. Maybe even give the subscription 3 months free when you buy the phone. Add to that, Sony could even offer exclusives, Resurrect, PlayStation Mobile. Now with something like this, the Nvidia Shield Portable, or something like this, the Ouya, these utter failures, they still got exclusives. So if Sony can drive up adoption, then they might even be able to get some developers on board for exclusives. Now add to it the dock. Here I'm just channeling the PS TV, which basically was a Vita without a display. Now the PS TV let you stream PS4 to another room, to your second TV. So basically, hey, you get another console on another room without having to buy a second console. They could probably let this PlayStation Phone do that. There's a market for it, isn't there? PS TVs, while technically not a hit, they still sold decently. Combine all of these into one product at a killer $400 price point, which off the bat might seem unrealistic, and hey, it is a little unrealistic, but then look at it. The Xperia 5 Mark III is expected to be priced around $850, $900. You cut the display from that Full HD to 720p, the refresh from 120Hz to 60Hz, the cameras from 3 to 1, a much older sensor, that the storage from 128 to say 32GB with micro SD, because UFS 3.1 and micro SD, it's not going to make a huge difference for older titles because we're talking emulation. Of course, you're going to have to factor in the costs of the buttons and all that. But as of today, there is no official console with a controller that lets you stream your PS5. The Vita got you remote access to PS3 and PS4, but it can't do PS5. So maybe, even if they are taking a bit of a cut on the hardware, it could be alluring enough for existing PS5 buyers, for gaming enthusiasts, for retro gaming enthusiasts, and on top of that, streamers. As in, I'm not talking about people streaming. I'm talking about people who like to stream the games themselves to play, kind of like what Microsoft is doing with Xbox, Game Pass, or Google with Stadia. That this could be the hardware, the best way to experience those. So even if you're not really using Sony's own service, you're still going to be paying for Sony hardware. That's probably the best way to do things. Kind of like Samsung selling AMOLED panels to Apple, or rather Sony selling their sensors to other brands. That's a more obvious parallel. What am I thinking? Anyways, all these services they're supposed to go up with the adoption of 5G. With 5G, more and more countries, more and more consumers embracing 5G, this adoption rate of Google Stadia, of PlayStation Now, of Microsoft Xbox Game Pass, all this is going to go up. So service being able to push out these existing huge gaming libraries as a service, that means they aren't really focusing on development. But they're able to put the PS1, PSP, PS2, PS Vita, these entire behemoths of libraries in the palm of your hand. That would be the epitome of gaming, right? Because from an Android gaming perspective, there are a lot of brands doing Android gaming phones. So this would be a different take of gaming, a look at gaming without microtransactions, a look at more just full-fledged gaming for a more hardcore gamer, from somebody who's playing on smartphones, from somebody who's not looking at the social aspect of gaming. Maybe, just maybe, this might work out. Now, the Xperia Play was a good phone, but frankly speaking, it was a little ahead of its time. So I feel the time is perfect for Sony to come out with a follow-up. What do you guys think? Do you feel this dream phone of mine is something that could be done? And more importantly, do you have a dream phone? If you were to go about it, what would you use? How would you go about it? What services would you actually provide? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that bell icon if you haven't yet. And thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.